My first experience with pornography was at age 6. Discovered masturbation after being introduced to it by a friend, and then pornography and masturbation was part of my routine as a child. In high school, I had inappropriate relationships with some girls, so my behavior was escalating. I had no idea that I was dealing with an addiction. I didn't recognize that it was part of a routine of changing the way that I feel. I met my wife, I met her at church. She was beautiful and talented, and all that I thought I would desire to have in a wife. And so I pursued our relationship, and I pursued it vigorously.
And it looked like he was everything that he was saying that he was. And a lot of the things that he wasn't saying that he was. It looked like it was all good.
I honestly felt like marriage would solve my interest in acting out with pornography or masturbation or any other illicit sexual behavior. Marriage does not solve a problem of having a desire to act out sexually. In fact, marriage emphasizes that challenge. Shortly after we were married, not long after that, I discovered that I was interested in pornography, and that I went back to it. The escalating behavior moved from pornography to masturbation to adult establishments, and finally to acting out with prostitutes. This is a sensitive part of my story, which I feel a lot of shame about, but I felt like I had picked up a venereal disease, and I had convinced myself that I had. And that's what brought me forward. I really felt like I wanted to change and not live the double life and be an honest man. I started from the very beginning, and I went from the beginning to the end of my story at that point.
I felt so naive to the world. I had no idea about addiction. I had none back then. I didn't understand this at all. I could not put who I thought I knew together with this person that he was talking about. And I have been taught my entire life that we must forgive. And I really felt that the right thing was forgive and be a support to him, because he's broken. He's feeling so terrible. And so there wasn't a feeling of I need to take care of myself through this at all. It was I need to take care of him. And we moved on.
I was free from acting out. I was actively working to change. I was looking for a spiritual connection. I was looking for a connection with my wife and my children.
And there was this feeling of, I think he's really got this.
But as time continued on, over a period of about 3 years, that commitment waned. It started right where it had the very first time, and with pornography. Progressed from pornography to masturbation quickly. It took some time, but then I was back into prostitution. So I chose to come forward again, and I did it in a very similar way. I said to Rhyll, I need to talk to you.
I was dumbfounded. I couldn't believe it. I'd sacrificed everything, and there was no change. And I thought for the first time, maybe this isn't going to work. But that thought did not stay very long, because in my pioneer woman strength, I decided that I needed to help him.
Rhyll was really leading the recovery effort.
I started finding books. I had read a book, and I made the phone calls. I was determined to help take care of this.
I didn't understand what I was up against. I didn't accept that I was dealing with an addiction. I didn't treat it like an addiction. I was back into acting on lust by looking at pornography, and then eventually all the way back to prostitution. History was repeating itself, and I was back in dangerous situations. August 25th of 2005, I wanted to go someplace where I could get a lust hit, and there was a woman who wanted a ride back to her motel, she told me, and I knew that she was a prostitute. I suddenly see flashing lights behind me, and I was pulled over and arrested. And it was the first time that I really recognized how out of control my life was in relationship to the dangers and the illegal activity that I'd participated in. And I don't recall anything except fear and shame, and how could I possibly have been so stupid The next part of this story is really the important part of my recovery, the beginning of my recovery. I did not sleep during the night. I laid in bed, totally awake, didn't move, and contemplated my circumstances. I have no idea how to escape this. The first question I think I asked was, do I believe in God? And as I contemplate that, I could only answer, yes, I do. And then I would ask myself the question, does he know me? And as I considered that, I would say, he knows me. Will I meet him? Yes, I will meet him. And I knew that we would talk about my experiences here on this earth. I came to the conclusion that I had no choice but to come forward again. The experience of talking to Rhyll the third time was very different, and there wasn't a lot of explanation required. And I said, I will do whatever it takes, and I will carry the responsibility of doing whatever it takes. And whatever you can do or whatever you feel like is right for you to do in your life, then obviously you need to do it. And I didn't know. I didn't know at the time whether our relationship could possibly survive.
But this is not working. I went directly to the only source I knew where there was peace. It wasn't me and him trying to make this work and me trying to fix him. It was me and God. But in that moment, I thought, it's over, but it's going to be okay that it's over because I've given it my best.
My motivation the third time that I came forward was based more upon my belief system. And there was less fear involved from the standpoint of losing the relationship than there was fear of losing my soul. I want to do this. I want to make a change. I recognize that I was the person in charge of my recovery. It wasn't my wife's responsibility. It wasn't my therapist's responsibility. It wasn't anyone else's responsibility to direct me. I needed to literally do the work. I also recognized that I needed to be involved with others in recovery, and I had pushed 12-step away from my life before, but this time I said, I'm ready.
His willingness to do all of this gave me tiny bits of hope. Because before, it was me setting up the appointments, reminding us. He did all of it. He set up the appointment. He asked if I would go. He didn't tell me I had to. I opened up the door of hope a little bit and a tiny bit of trust with each opportunity for him to show his willingness to do whatever it was going to take. There is great hope. I have found it in my own life, and I've seen it in hundreds of other women and couples.
That hope is centered in our relationship, my relationship with God, and a belief that He will help me. That belief, however, has to translate into some kind of action. I have to have some faith, I have to believe, and then I have to be willing to do something and not just hope that other people will do it for me. But what am I willing to do? I'm willing to be honest, and then I'll move forward one step at a time.